Welcome to The Resilient Realtor, where we gain insight, inspiration, and understanding of what makes a great real estate agent, interviewing agents of change. And now, the host of The Resilient Realtor, an award-winning veteran real estate agent and community leader, Kim Hayden.
Record to my computer if there's any more room. And I don't have my light placed right today, so I don't know. Whatever. I give. Oh, by the way, it's my birthday today.
Oh,
so
happy
my birthday with me.
Yes.
All right.
Celebrate with you.
All right, so music playing, and here we come. All right, and welcome back to Kim Talks and the Resilient Realtor. I'm super excited today because many of us, myself included, cannot navigate this crazy media world when it comes to how do we promote our brand and our business, and how do we get out there? I'm really good at knocking on doors and doing open houses. That's my shtick. I love that. However, we can't just do that. That's only one part of the business plan. So in reaching out and finding these experts, these people who out there live in this whole different universe of technology. And they come and they say, this is what you need to do. And this is how we're going to do it. And they speak a whole different language. I happened to stumble across this amazing young woman. Michelle is an entrepreneur, a founder, and a solution creator. She comes in and she goes, I believe in you. I believe you have the business in you that you can do. We just have to get the audience to hear you. And she creates the solutions. So please welcome to Kim Talks to the Resilient Realtor, people who are making change in our world and creating solutions. Michelle Berman, Berman Media PD. What does PD stand for?
So it's a funny story, but when I first created my company, I literally went, to the courthouse to pay your $57 to create your corporation name, whatever. Berman Media itself, like just the two words, was actually already taken. It was a firm in New York City that did PR. And so I had to add something to it, and I incorporated myself in Palm Desert, California. So the PD is P for Palm and D for desert. So that's where it came from. A lot of people think it was like, police department or whatever, but really it's just the PD that I had to add because I couldn't just use Berman Media since it was already taken.
Very cool. Okay, so give us a little bit on your journey, because you are the breadwinner. You are, and nothing against the partner. You always have. I'm usually the breadwinner in my family, but I could not do it without my husband's support. So I totally get that. But you've taken on this huge role and you've got some big shifts coming in your life. Can you take us back to that moment of entrepreneurship where it was like a do or die, let's make this happen? So take us back. How long have you been in business?
Yep. So I incorporated myself in November of 2014. So I'm going on 7 years, about 6.5 now. My journey is really unique, and it stems from a very vulnerable part of myself, and I'm more than happy to be open and share that, because I think a lot of women, I think a lot of just people will resonate with the experience that I've gone through. But I grew up as a competitive athlete. I swam all through college, all through high school, middle school, all of it. Ended up on scholarship to go and swim for Rutgers when I went to school, right? So that was in 2008, and got a scholarship to swim for them, and have always been very good at fitness. And that's been something that has really been a backbone to a lot of things, which in my opinion translated very well into entrepreneurship. But my journey of the entrepreneurship piece, right, where I said, I am not doing this corporate America thing, for me really stemmed out of family issues. That sounds terrible to say, but I've always been the black sheep of my family. My dad is a very, very high-end bankruptcy lawyer for a very large firm based out of New York City and Chicago. My sister was a high school teacher that specialized in chemistry and just really smart stuff. My mom was a vet tech that ended up getting a full scholarship to UC Davis to be a veterinarian, and then turned paralegal when she decided that she had to take care of her sisters when her dad had left their family. So becoming a paralegal is how she met my dad ultimately. But my entire family is very, very smart, right? They come from this high education. Everybody's got like this law degree, or they talk about business, or like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was always this like expectation of being at a certain level of education, right? You had to have the piece of paper in order to say you've accomplished something or that you've done something well. And when I decided that I wasn't doing that, I actually quit my master's program just before my thesis, because I just said, I'm not writing a 40-page paper. This is ridiculous. Like, I need to go make money and like do life. And I ended up turning down law school. I turned down a full ride to UNLV to go. I just didn't see myself being in school for another 4 years, working for somebody making $20 an hour in California. And so for me, it stemmed from the expectation of what my family wanted me to be versus what I knew I didn't want to be, is why I ended up going my own way. And to some extent, I think fast forward to now, I'm almost 31, and I don't think my parents actually know for sure exactly what I do for a living, nor do I think they care. I know they are proud, right, as they say, but they don't say that, and they certainly don't understand it. My dad still thinks I work with Twitter, which I have nothing to do with Twitter. But he's the first person to like everything I post on LinkedIn. But yeah, for me, the entrepreneurship piece to what made my clock tick, I think, was the desire to say, I don't have to be in this box of what the rest of my family thinks I have to be really successful, and I'm going to prove it.
Amazing. Now, you said 7 years.
Yep.
But just so you know, my family, they just all look at me like, oh my God.
I'm glad we're in this together.
Or we're in the creative mindset. So,
Yeah.
7 years. And over
Yeah.
the last 3 years, you've started seeing some real exponential growth in what you're offering. Can you give us a bit of insight as to the recipe to creating that growth? Because you're seeing double over year over the last 3 years. So share with us a little bit about what you shifted in your business plan, or what has caught fire and is making things happen for you.
So for me, the catch fire moment, again, vulnerability is my specialty. I feel like this is the stuff people need to talk about, because it's stuff people don't like to talk about. But I actually was in a 4.5, almost 5-year relationship that ended about 80 days before I was supposed to get married. So I called the wedding off and went through this like massive moment of something has to give, right? And this particular individual that I was with didn't want me to work in the Instagram space or the social media space. He made me keep a resume on my desktop just in case Instagram decided to go away, like all these other social platforms had in the past. So he always had in his mind a backdoor for what I was doing for a living. And I just genuinely didn't believe in having that, because I knew that if you have a backdoor, there's no success to the level that it should be, right? Because you're not all the way in and all the way committed. So when that relationship ended, I hired a business coach actually based out of the UK. And I got on a plane at 27. I was 27. Got on a plane to the UK by myself alone. My parents were mortified. They're like, you're going to the UK right now? There was a lot of political unrest happening in the UK at the time. But I met this business coach in real life. For the first time. We had talked, hundreds of times on the phone and Zoom and Google Meets and all that stuff, but ended up going there, spending 7 days in coffee shops, masterminding and brainstorming and developing what Berman Media was going to be, where my passion was, where my heart was at, the people that I was the most passionate at serving. And when I landed back in the States after that trip, he told me I had to fire every client I had that wasn't in the real estate space. For a 27-year-old that had just gone through like a very traumatic, large life event, telling somebody to cut a third, almost half of their income and just say goodbye to it on purpose was also a big challenge. But that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because once I committed to an industry that I love and that I'm incredibly passionate about, just skyrocketed after that, because I knew exactly who I wanted to serve. I knew exactly how to serve them because I knew what they needed specifically. I wasn't trying to be the master of all things. I was trying to be the master of one. And it took fire rapidly, and has created multiple opportunities for me to develop courses and other things and coaching programs that have made it really easy to connect with people that need it.
Okay, so before we dive into what you do, I want to circle back around to this coaching type of thing, because you just mentioned coaching. Before this coach that so you have been in business 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You had a relationship that was not conducive long-term or to where you were going. Did you get any coaching in your business in those 4 years? And yet,
Like a mentor, no, not at all. And no paid coaching whatsoever.
okay. Now, as a professional athlete, did you ever get to the next pool without a coach?
Absolutely not.
So that's really fascinating. That's really fascinating. And I'd love to talk about swimming with you at some point in time, because we put our son into swimming and he was a competitive swimmer for 5 years. And the mental health and the stability that comes out of swimming, there's all sorts of studies on it. And it's probably why you were able to self-correct part of your path, was because you had that foundation within that sport, that very formulated system, because swimming is very systematic. You move at a certain rate, everything it's a cool sport. Okay, so yes, the coaching makes all the difference, eh?
I genuinely believe people ask me, all the time, what's that thing that you feel like has made you successful? And I tell them that what swimming did for me as a female, but two, just as a human who, ended up going into business later on. What it ultimately taught me was time management in a totally very unique way, right? Because as a college athlete, you're literally getting paid to perform, but you have to have good academics in order to be able to perform. And you swim a lot. Like I don't remember a day where I got to party until everything was done, right? Like, and you have to crunch time. A lot of times you got to work around swim schedules. You got to work around study hall mandatory hours and dry land training and being in the weight room, and just like the time management that it takes to get through a double major and a minor and swim at that level was insane, really, when I look back on it. But the biggest thing I think that swimming and just athletics has taught me is that reckless resolve for, like, you don't have a back door, right? You have to figure it out, because in swimming, and as your son experienced, right, nobody can jump in and swim for you. You gotta swim that race yourself. There's no team in it. So you really have to rely on you. Even if you're on a relay, right, you still have to run your own leg by yourself. You can't tag somebody in for that. And I think that that's translated into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am an absolute advocate of coach up, and and being aware when you need to progress to the next level, or who needs to be what type of coach you're looking for. So when we talk about coaching, and we talk about service, and we talk about support, tell us a little bit about what you've built there. What does Berman do? What do you provide? And just so you know, I want everybody to know, I'm not going to understand most of this. This is why I hired out. Just so you know.
Yeah. So Berman Media PD, what we do as a whole is we essentially are coaches to the real estate and the loan officer space. We coach and educate and empower them, whether it's a team, whether it's an individual, whether it's an entire brokerage, to understand the idea behind social media, not being the piece of content you put out, but the avatar or the brand awareness as a whole of what your platform represents. So our coaching program is really designed to figure out and pull out of the individual, even if they've been in the industry for 30 years, what do they actually do, right? And that sounds like a very simple question, but it's really not. There's several layers to it. And I've met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents who, when I say, who do you specialize in working in or with, they're like first time home buyers. And I'm like, okay, I know 5,000 of you. What do you actually do? Right. And getting into the weeds of that. And so that's what we specialize in, is pulling that out of the individuals, helping them understand that who you serve and understanding that in its depth is actually how you create content on social media that will convert and will generate you the ROI that everybody wants. But the problem that we've experienced is that nobody wants to understand or put that work in. They just assume that if they post something pretty on social media, they'll get a lead.
Well, they say that if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one.
Yep,
And I
100%.
find that a lot of agents don't put the time in. They do not put the time in to develop and grow that niche awareness of their brand.
Yep.
And so all they're doing is they're just spitballing every which way. And and this is just something I've been aware of. Everybody thought I was crazy because I niched down so tight inside like a single community, where at one point in time I had 10% of that community sales, and that 10% led me to the top 1%. But it was because everybody saw my signs and they knew that. And I'm a listing specialist, always have been a listing specialist. Don't get me wrong, I love buyers. However, buyers are great for my team. I like listings. I love the open houses. I love the curation of relationship. That's my thing. And it wouldn't matter if I was listing real estate or if I was setting up a coffee shop and hosting, the same guy at the bar, at the counter every day. So it's all, for me, I'm a relationship specialist. Doesn't matter what company I work in or what brand or what business I work within. So so we're seeing a lot of concern and confusion out there. And these are the common conversations I'm hearing from other real estate agents. There's no listings, or there's competing listings and they never win. So what are some of your thoughts coming from somebody who coaches to understand the core definition of their brand and who their right fit client is? What are some of the solutions that you could share with those agents that are saying, no listings?
Yeah, everyone says it, right? Inventory so low. There's a record low number of new listings that are available for our buyers to go see. Record number of offers on X listing. It's the same conversation. And you and I have briefly talked about this, Kim, separately, but this concept of like competition over community, right? I think is a huge part of the solution to this problem. Instead of seeing the sign in your neighborhood that belongs to somebody else as competition, think of it as that person is serving the person that they're really good at helping, and they got that person down. I'm going to go find my person because I'm not for everyone, right? And I think the sooner every real estate agent can look at their own business and say, I am not for everyone and I am okay with that, they won't be fighting for business because the business will just come to them. But the key being that they're putting out that I'm not for everyone, not directly saying that, right? But saying, here's who I really do love, or who really is where my passion is at to work with. And so I think that's the answer, right? Is we have to get away from thinking that there's no business out there, I'm screwed, like I'm going to have to go get a second job. Like we have to get rid of that mindset and think, if I'm really good at attracting the person that I really love working with, I will be able to manifest that business solely based off of the content I put out to attract it. And that's the mindset shift, right? Like when I shifted away from thinking I had to serve everyone, help everyone in the social media space, my business literally 4x'd within the first year, right? And then in 2020, when everyone was like, the pandemic is happening, I have no money, my business more than doubled, right? And not because I was doing anything astronomically different, but because I was very conscious of who I help, and I was very good at serving them directly and not worrying about all of the noise that was going on outside of it.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. As a coach and as a leader, how many hours do you put in each week do you invest in research and just, all the information that you need that you then parlay onto your clients?
So I will say it's shifted. In the beginning of my career, really in the beginning of this 3 to 4 year shift that we've had, it was significantly more time than it is now, I would say. It was lots of book reading, lots of online conferences with some of these big industry leaders and keynote speakers. High Performance Habits is my favorite book of all time. I laughingly tell my husband that if Brendan Burchard ever met me in real life, he would want to marry me too, just because we're the same. But my husband doesn't think that that's that funny, but I do. But I have so much love for that guy, and reading his book was absolutely life-changing for my career in so many ways, more ways than we have time to probably talk about. But in the beginning of my career, or I shouldn't say career, of this shift, right? It was lots of that stuff. So I would say weekly, if I had to be tangible about it, I would say, 8 to 10 hours a week of reading and research, watching online conferences, watching this or that. Today, fast forward to, where we are now, most of my learning comes from being in rooms with other industry leaders, right? I absolutely adore Chelsea Pike. She's one of my best girl industry partner friends in the industry. We do the exact same thing, literally, right? But we're not competition of each other. Matter of fact, we've sent each other business both ways. And we look at each other as somebody who, hey, oh my God, I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that. And hey, I have a question. Somebody posted this and had this weird caption. How do you get that caption? Right. And we share it back and forth and we learn together. And I think Chelsea is just one example of how we can do that. So for me now, I focus on leveling up the audience or the room around me, and learning from somebody asked me a hard question when I'm teaching and I'm like, crap, I don't know the answer. Right. And I'm going to go find the answer afterwards and then email them and be like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that at the time, but like, here's what I found.
Absolutely. And I think that's the one thing I believe that a sign of greatness and a sign of somebody who's open is somebody who can say, you know what? That's a great question. I don't have the answer right now, but I'm going to go and find the answer. And, so, as a coach, so one of the things we're facing right now is A, the she session, B, the crazy market, C, summer is coming upon us. So there's going to be a lot of women out there that are going to be navigating summer schedules and have kids under feet, and they're still in the same crazy market. What are some of the ideas, tips, tricks, tools that you would recommend that those women leverage over the 90-day period that they're going to be underneath a compounded pressure?
So my number one thing, and this is, everyone probably says this, but I'm going to try to say it in a unique way, right? Is understanding your time blocking and what that actually means. And saying every morning, and this is actually based right out of High Performance Habits, that book, right? And everything I do in life, I swear, comes from one of those 6 high performing habits. But waking up every day and deciding, when I sit in this chair in my office at home, who needs me the most today? And I serve them first and foremost. That person gets my attention. If I get emails or people that need me later on in the day, I will serve them as long as number one, a person has been served that day. And so I think for the number one tip or trick, if you will, that I would tell them is, if you know that you don't have a budget for advertising or for spend, right? Meaning like Facebook ads, marketing in general, right? The postcards, the mailers, the expensive pieces of real estate marketing. If you know that you're not willing, one, to do those things because you don't feel like they work, which is everyone's own opinion, right? 2, if you don't have the financial means to invest in it because your summer or your kid has summer school or your kid has this summer camp or whatever, and it's expensive, the best platform to invest in as far as time is social media, right? Whether that's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, I don't care. But serve that one platform, right? Give yourself that one space to put that energy into and document those 90 days, right? Meaning that craziness of your life that's going on behind the scenes, other people are experiencing that too, right? So if you can connect with them emotionally, or in this, some people will say spiritual way, right? You will get a more business than you know what to do with, because other people will say, me too, right? Or I want to work with her because she totally gets it. She's going to understand that my kid has to be in 4 places in 4 different places, or at 4 different times because he's in 4 different sports, but she's going to make it work with me. And that's why I'm going to hire her. So that's the big thing, right? Is choose your person every day that needs you the most, serve them, and put the time and effort into the place where, in my opinion, it's Instagram, but everyone might feel differently about that. Put your energy there and showcase those 90 crazy ass days, because somebody else is going to be experiencing that exact same thing.
Absolutely. That is such good advice. We've got a bit of a shift that we're starting to see between the visual mediums and the audio mediums when it comes to visually. Do you see? Oh, I'm so sorry. My dog. Can you hear my dog?
I can't
My
hear him at
dog
all.
is losing his marbles downstairs, barking at a squirrel, I'm sure. So we're starting to see a shift when it comes to the visual. So our influencers, or the social influencers, up to this point have basically been just visually somebody who has propped up a product or something. And now we're starting to see other assets coming in, like Clubhouse, like podcasting. More and more people are podcasting. I think that being able to hear the voice of a person is going to impact the job of the influencer on Instagram. I know this sounds like a weird question,
No,
but
I know. I love
okay.
this. I think it's a fantastic question.
Okay.
And the answer is 100% yes. And here's my take on that, right? So everyone says, okay, so I get it. I need to do Instagram, but where should I spend my time on Instagram, right? If I only have 15 minutes a day, right? Where should I spend my time on Instagram? Where's the number one place? And I tell them stories, which, if you're unfamiliar with Instagram, right, it's just like the Snapchat of Instagram, where you have a little circle around your profile photo and it's a quick snippet of something going on behind the scenes. Now, the power here, why I say stories, is because, right, if I'm about to hire you and I'm going to spend 10 hours in a day in the car with you, I better understand your personality. I better feel connected to your voice, feel connected to your mannerisms, all of these things, right? Because guess what? I'm about to be stuck with you for a while. So I hope I like you, right? So stories is how we connect with people that way, right? So the beauty of Clubhouse and the beauty of podcasting is we get the audio, right? We get to hear what somebody sounds like. We get to hear how passionate people are about what they're doing. And then the beauty about Instagram is that we also now get to see it, right? So we get to see that person talk. Yesterday, I did a story, no joke, walking to my car, holding a water bottle in one hand. I had a bag on the other hand. My sunglasses were falling down my face. The wind was blowing like crazy. But I was like, oh my gosh, I just have to say this out loud to these people, because I had just done a Facebook Live and I was like, people need to hear this, right? But I got so many DMs from people that were like, oh my gosh, it's been so nuts here in Arizona. Like, we've just had crazy winds for like multiple days, which we never have. But not only did they notice that, but they noticed the message. They're like, I love that you still shared that message, because I felt that way whenever I look at people's content and the comment I was addressing, right? But my point is that they got to hear me. They got to see that I was like disheveled and had everything going on, and I still managed to get that message out. And it created a relationship between me and the individuals that were seeing it that I couldn't have had if I was just taking a pretty picture of me standing by the car and then writing a caption, or vice versa, right? Just talking into my phone and sending it out somewhere. They get both. So I think there's something really incredibly passionate about even what we're doing right now, Kim. Like, you and I get to see each other, but we also get to give other people the opportunity to hear us together. And so
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to continue this at, we have one of our secret weapons at the Media Mastery coming up June 2nd. And, and that literally, that connection comes through Instagram, research through Instagram. Somebody like myself who has a platform. I have all the moving parts in place to attract audience and to create that back end. That's what my job is I just learned the new term is a JV. I am basically a JV platform. I create a space for multiple voices to come together so we can share the spotlight. So instead of each person out with that single flashlight trying to be seen, we bring all of those beams of light together to create this huge synergy, this huge spotlight. And that's how I found you, was doing my due diligence, doing my research, cross-referencing, looking, you got to do the Google search, is she a felon, who hates her, that type of thing. Was she at Weinstein's? Come on, we got to check all this out. So, and just the image that I was able to find of you, and that history and the documentation that the social media gives us is awesome, in the sense that I was able to get to know you a bit before I even got the opportunity to know you. So I guess, what is your social media? What is the message you're putting out? So much like, who is your right fit client?
Yeah.
Also, what is the message?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
For me, I mean, the message on social media is, and I really, really believe this, I want people to, when they choose to work with us, that they know that they're working with a mom, a wife, somebody who's juggling multiple things, right? And trying to be it all to everyone. And also somebody that just really freaking cares about each individual person's success, and is willing to share that, right? And I feel like the vulnerability piece to who I am, I have gotten to where I've gotten because I have been unapologetically myself, and shared hard moments that have gone on in my life and gone on in my career, that have allowed me to build relationships with people that have given me a platform to get more people into the ecosystem. But that's what my Instagram is supposed to feel like. I want someone to go there and feel like she's just another girl who's just out there doing life and trying her best, loving on people along the way. And she has a kick-ass team and she's really good at Instagram. And I think that's the point.
Absolutely. So, okay, power round. Favorite ice cream. What's your favorite ice cream?
Moose Tracks, because I love chocolate and I love like the marshmallows that are in them usually.
Awesome. Okay. You already told us your favorite book. Any more that you'd like to share?
Good to
High
Great.
Impact.
Good to Great is my second one. So High Performance Habits is my first one, and then Good to Great by Jim Collins is my second one. It's kind of, most people have heard of like the flywheel effect, but if you haven't looked that up, that's all I'll leave you with, but it's mind blowing.
Awesome. Okay. When you're listening to a podcast or something to sink into, whose voice resonates with you? Who do you listen to?
So my number one, I actually listened to a couple different ones. One of them is called The Happiness Project, which just is basically a study from several women that have graduated from New York, NYC college in New York City. I don't know exactly which one it is, but it might've been Yale maybe, but I don't think Yale is in New York. Anyways, it's called The Happiness Project. And these two ladies have PhDs in like sleeping, and the studying of sleepiness and sleeping and how it coordinates to happiness. And it's been really interesting. And it's been something I've been listening to a lot when I'm in the bathtub lately. That's one, because I think happiness is just one of those things it's a formula, right? It's not necessarily like just a feeling. So it's been really awesome to learn about. The second one for me, personally, is a gentleman named Phil Treadwell, who runs Mortgage Marketing Expert. This has been a podcast I have listened to since day one of building the Instagram Power Method course, and trying to break into the sphere of getting in front of these higher power players. He was the very first podcast I was actually ever on. And we actually met in real life in Texas a couple months ago. And it was 2+ years after I had ever been on his podcast. And he doesn't know it. I don't think he understands it, but he's probably, if not one of the most influential people in my career to date. And he has a killer podcast.
Awesome. So I like all the stuff that we're getting for everybody of how we can occupy your time and enrich your life. So let's go. Quote. What's the quote that resonates with you that you would write on your bathroom mirror and look at every day?
Yeah. So one of my biggest ones, it's not a quote from somebody, I would say. It's something that I have actually, I don't want to say wrote, but I basically conceptualized. This was just the concept of you can't have a back door in entrepreneurship, in your career, in anything, right? Because if you do, you'll fail. So you can't say something like, I'm just going to dip my toe in this. And if it works out, great. But if I go back, or if it doesn't, I can just go back to this plan B or this other thing. So the quote itself that I would give you would be that you'll never commit to 100% growth, nor commit to things that you have to do in order to make it if you have a back door. And I think that goes into no matter what industry you're in, no matter what phase of life, whether you're talking about marriage or you're talking about motherhood or whatever it is, I think it resonates.
Absolutely. Any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the women in real estate that are just starting out this year?
Yeah.
What are some?
I will say this, and we can talk about it more probably at the conference in a couple of weeks, but every single one of you and every single woman listening to this, you have a voice, you have something to say that nobody else can say the way that you can say it. And you have a journey, you have an experience, you have something that you've been through that somebody else needs to hear. And this, I literally have the goosebumps saying this, but the sooner you embrace that and the sooner you're okay with sharing that, the more fulfilled, right? Or full, I was going to say filled, but full your life will be, right? Like, because you'll feel that feeling of like, I'm not the only one going through this, but I also just had a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders because I said it out loud, right? And if you're new in real estate and you're thinking, how the heck am I going to get my first deal? I will tell you that you will get your first deal as soon as you stop trying to get your first deal and you just start thinking about being authentically you and showcasing what's going on in your life, because somebody else will resonate with it.
Amazing. Okay, so Michelle, where can we find you? Share with us all your media tags and where we find you.
So on Instagram, it's Berman Media Social. So it's BERMAN Media Social, all one word. On Facebook, it's Michelle Berman, and then in parentheses, Michael, which is my married name. So if you see that, that's me, I promise. My website handle is bermanmediapd.com. And on Facebook, you can also join our free Instagram Power Method Facebook group, which is just a huge group of clients and students from 22 different states that we have so far. And it's a ton of value, right? So it's just, if you don't have the money to spend on learning or buying courses or doing any of that stuff, and you need a room full of free content that's going to move the needle for you, the Instagram Power Method Facebook group, there's multiple different ones. So just make sure you join the one that doesn't say course members only. But we'd be happy to have you and happy to add value to what you're doing so you can get off the ground and get running.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I will tell you, this has been, and there's so much more that we could unpack, and we will over time, because we're definitely going to do this again, especially after your special surprise comes in a few months. And you guys will have to show up to the June 2nd event to find out all the cool things that are going on in Michelle's life, because she's about to embark on the best journey ever. So you know what? I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your time. As we know, time is the one non-renewable resource that is the most valuable resource we're ever gifted with. And that you would share that with us is incredible. And I am Kim Hayden. I am the host of Kim Talks and the Resilient series, which I just found out is that I am a joint venture opportunity. I believe the art of collaboration, that when we work and we move ourselves out of the silohood and we move ourselves into a sisterhood, that we can grow, we can be more, we can do more, and we can support more. And that's what the world needs, is a little bit more love and collaboration. So again, join me here anytime. You can listen Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're listening to this. You know what? And if you want to be on the podcast, I'd love to have you. So give me a shout. Again, it's Kim Hayden with the amazing Michelle Berman. And again, join us June 2nd at our Media Mastery. Thank you very much, and bye for now. And I'm going to stop recording.
Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, be an agent of change.